Remakes, reboots, and plain rip-offs. Godzilla has taken on many forms, roles, and of course symbolic meanings since his first appearance in 1954. From enemy to hero to Tokyo resident, here's just some of the ways that Godzilla has changed throughout the years, but first, let's go back to where it all began. In 1954, the US military conducted a test, a hydro bomb codenamed Castle Bravo. It was detonated in the Pacific at Bikini Atoll in the Marshall Islands. The fallout reached an unexpected Japanese fishing vessel called Lucky Dragon No. 5, and the crew suffered from severe radiation toxicity. One crew member passed away from the effects later in hospital. During this time, Japanese film company Toho's movie producer Tomoyuki Tanaka was under pressure to develop an original storyline to fill the fall schedule. He was inspired part by the recent tragedy and part by successful monster films such as King Kong from 1933. At this point, post-war occupied Japan had censored tragedies such as Hiroshima, and Takana wanted to bring all of these ideas together to express the fear that was now part of his country's history. And Gojira was born. The 1954 film is seen as a metaphor for the destruction that the people of Japan faced during the end of World War II. To many, the monster was an unstoppable force of evil. It's said that the head was created in a way to represent a mushroom cloud in certain shots, and its skin was to represent the burnt skins of the victim of Lucky Dragon No. 5. He was a symbol of fear, loss, nuclear weapons, and war, and the consequences of humankind. From here we move into the Showa period, which covers the first 15 films, starting from the original in 1954 to the terror of Mechagodzilla in 1975. During this time, the monster strayed from the original symbolic meaning, with the films taking more of an action focus. But surprisingly, as Japan became more familiar with Godzilla, something else changed. His image of being a beast and villain soon turned into protector. Godzilla was now the hero, and Japan was rooting for him. Japan's bond with Godzilla was only strengthened when his son Minilla was introduced. This turned Godzilla into a family-friendly character. From this point, creative direction for the films changed, and comedic scenes were added. The movies began to show a softer side, which was complete opposite to the Godzilla we formerly knew. In 1971, Godzilla vs. Hedorah was released. Hedorah is the Japanese word for sludge or chemical ooze. The evil for this film was straight up pollution, and the film drove home the message about going green and saving the planet. Somehow Godzilla went from being the atomic bomb to Captain Planet. But it didn't last long, and after the Showa period, Godzilla took a 9-year break from the big screen. And when he returned, he was not the same, and from here we begin the Heisen period. This period completely disregards the last period back to the first film and its direct sequel from the 1954 original. He was back and meaner than ever. He also looked different. The monster grew 30 meters, from 50 to 80, and he had a more serious look to the film as it took back its more serious symbolic tone. There were several films in this period which ended in 1995. Meanwhile, Godzilla could not shake his good guy image that Japan had come to love. A series of spin-offs involving the King of Monsters and his son were created, such as my favorite, aesthetically anyway, Godzilla Land. In 1994, the 4-part educational TV show used Godzilla and his friends from Monster Island to teach children about the hiragana alphabet and math. In the show, the characters were portrayed as young children. Obviously, this revealed that Godzilla was still endearing to families in Japan, and he was still a family name. I think we can all agree that this is a far cry from the Godzilla that we originally met, but it's not over yet. Buckle your seatbelts in, because this is gonna get pretty crazy. The next period of Godzilla's life is a little bit out of control. In 1999, Godzilla returned in Godzilla 2000 Millennium. This time he shrank back to just above his original size, going from 80 meters back to 55. And this period, like the ones before, also disregard all other films and go back to the original and is a sequel from there on. The third film during the Millennium period was Godzilla, Mothra, and King Ghidorah. Giant monsters all out attack. Godzilla's appearance has changed once again, and this time he has shrunk back to his 50-meter frame, and his symbolic nature was more anti-war than the embodiment of the atomic bomb itself. But like Whiplash, in the next film, Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, he was back to 55 meters. 2 years later, the Millennium period came to a close. It had a total of 6 films, but he went out with a bang. Godzilla Final Wars saw Godzilla bigger than ever. In fact, he was double the original size and he was now 100 meters. This was the most expensive of the Godzilla films to date, but it paid off and Godzilla even got a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. But it didn't stop there. In 2016, Godzilla returned once again in Shin Godzilla. He was back and bigger than ever at 118.5 meters. And he also was looking pretty jacked if you ask me. But it wasn't just his looks. Godzilla was now a symbol for natural disasters, particularly aimed at the 2011 earthquake and tsunami in Japan. And just like that, Godzilla returned to terrorizing Japan. Since then, there has not been another live action film made of Godzilla in Japan because of the movie rights and distribution rights going on with the trademarks in Hollywood right now. Godzilla belongs to them right now. So Godzilla went to cartoon form, this time for a trilogy on Netflix. But speaking of Hollywood, I've left them out of the narrative until now. Back when the 1954 film was released, it was such a success that America wanted to try it on for size. But the original storyline highlighted the destruction caused by the war. So in 1956, when the rights were handed over, 60% of the film was cut, re-edited, dubbed, and renamed Godzilla King of Monsters. Godzilla didn't return to America until 1998, when director Roland Emmerich said, fuck it, let's make him a giant reptile and let's forget all about his history. Actually, let's make him resemble those Jurassic Park monsters. They looked great. I'm paraphrasing here, obviously. And the TriStar Pictures Godzilla was born and it flopped. The film was condemned for its approach to recreate a classic horror icon with no tact or homage. This quote from an interview by a writer and producer of the film definitely sums up their thoughts perfectly. Roland and I made an intellectual idea that was interesting but not compelling filmmaking. He said, in real life, a lizard is neither evil nor good. It's just a lizard. So, this is so bad. Who would say this? So what if one got to that size and in its efforts to survive, it threatened us? But it wasn't mad at us. What the fuck? It was just simply doing what it did, and it causes this problem for us. Well, that's interesting, but that's not Godzilla. And if you go to the very first movie, Ghidorah, it was an evil monster. Movies after that, it was a hero. We didn't choose either. I'm sure I did say it just like that, but what? Apparently halfway through this screening, the man who played Godzilla from 1985 to 1995 walked out saying, "It's not Godzilla, it does not have spirit," which I will have to agree with because lizard. But mostly it was his look that was different. Godzilla was a 17-meter lizard. And without the background or the look, why even bother calling it Godzilla? And finally, we made it to the Legendary Pictures trilogy. The 2014 film was highly praised by the original Japanese studio Toho. And I have to agree, Godzilla, although looking very updated, the film keeps a lot of Godzilla's origin. The storyline follows an American family living in Japan who deal with destruction and loss. In this film, Godzilla has gained a cool tone appearance and stands at 108 meters. As a sequel, Godzilla King of the Monsters opens this week in cinemas. And it's the biggest Godzilla ever at 119.8 meters. It's also the 35th Godzilla film, which is insane to me. One of the trailers show heartful symbolism explaining the storyline and how humans have destroyed the planet and Godzilla and his Showa crew must return to fight it, paying direct ode to where it all began. Godzilla has had a lasting impact around the world. He's become an ever-changing symbol for destruction and redemption. He is one of the most timeless horror icons alive, and his heart belongs in Japan. In fact, in 2015, Godzilla became an official resident of Japan, along with official residency papers. He also became the tourism ambassador of Tokyo. Godzilla's spirit and message transcends languages, countries, and many people's hearts. If you like this video, please let me know by giving a thumbs up. I have never done this much research for a video. It was insane, the deep diving of Godzilla. If you really like Godzilla and you want to check out some more content, this is actually part of a collaboration. A whole bunch of us on YouTube are doing videos this week on Godzilla. I'm going to leave a list down below in the down bar. Please go check them out, give them some love, and let them know that I sent you. It's obviously all to celebrate the new Godzilla film coming out, which I'm so excited for. Let me know what your favorite kind of Godzilla is, what your look you like, and what symbolic meaning you like. How do you like your Godzilla? I have to say I still like Godzilla Island a lot. Anyway, I hope you guys are having a great day and I'll talk to you very soon. Stay spooky. Bye.